guys, welcome to another video. Today we'll be reviewing Terminator Dark Fate. This film came out in 2019, was directed by Tim Miller, and stars Linda Hamilton and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now before we start, hit the like button, subscribe to the post notification bell so you're notified for every video, and let's just start. Let's start talking about the good. So, some of the actors and actors in this film, I thought they were good, including Arnold Schwarzenegger as Terminator, Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor, Mackenzie Davis as Grace, and Gabriel Luna as the Rev 9, which is a new Terminator villain of this film. I thought they were all good in this film. The opening sequence I thought was good. Some of it is a rehash of T2's opening sequence, which is by far the best opening of any Terminator film. And I didn't really have a problem with it because obviously that is my favorite opening sequence of a Terminator film. The cinematography, which of course through shots of cameras, lighting, is decent. Tim Miller did a good enough job with the cinematography. It is definitely nowhere near the best looking Terminator film, but it's not the worst. The Linda Hamilton entrance sequence, I thought it was awesome. I really liked her entrance. She's in the car, she's driving, and she just gets out of the car, she has her gun, and she just shoots the Terminator, or the Rev 9, played by Gabriel Luna, shoots him multiple times. That is an awesome entrance for Linda Hamilton. The border jail action sequence, I thought it was cool. It's in the second act of the film. I thought it was good enough. It was fun, especially the Rev 9 just taking down a whole bunch of prison guards just to get to Mackenzie Davis and the other lead characters, whom I have no clue who their names are. The return of the Terminator, who was of course played by Arnold Schwarzenegger in the second act of the film, it was great. Arnold Schwarzenegger is one of my favorite actors of all time. Him as the Terminator, he is phenomenal as the Terminator. His return was great. And the score by Tom Holkenborg, I thought it was okay. It's nowhere near the score from the original Terminator and T2. I really liked Terminator Salvation score. This is nowhere near those three scores, but it's okay. That's all the good I have. Now to move on to the bad. So there's no character development whatsoever. I didn't care about any of the characters except Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, and Mackenzie Davis's character. Gabriel Luna's character you're not supposed to care about, but he was good enough in the film. There is a lot of bad and cringeworthy acting, especially from Natalia Reyes or Danny Ramos. She's the main character of the film, and she's horrible. I did not like her character at all. There's no reason for her to be in this film. She was terrible, and she really didn't have anything to do with the story. The first act of the film was very boring. I found myself bored through a lot of the first act of the film. When they're setting up the characters, it is some of the worst setup for any characters in the Terminator franchise, because this film, I legitimately did not care about any of the characters except the lead characters. The same thing with Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. Did not care about those characters at all. The second act of the film goes from mediocre to very boring. Now, the second act of the film, better than the first act until you get to the end of the second act. And it just goes from mediocre to boring very quickly. I did not like it at all. The characters that are going on the sort of adventure or whatever they're going through, it was terrible. I did not like their interactions. Linda Hamilton, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mackenzie Davis, of course, like I stated, and Gabriel Luna were good in the film. And the second act of the film, they really carried that second act. But the rest of the characters were horrible. The action sequences have a lot of cuts. I did not like the action sequences in this film at all. The reason I love T1 and T2 and T4 I enjoy is because the action sequences are not constant cuts and you can see what's going on. This film, I couldn't see a thing with the action sequences. It just kept cutting from one sequence to the next, and it didn't really make sense why they would do that, but it was a terrible choice, especially for directing. The CGI. Now, the CGI is very noticeable. Most of the CGI is very noticeable, especially Gabriel Luna. When he is jumping in the air in one sequence, it's horrible. I did not like the CGI at all. His face does not look normal. They use a lot of CGI. This film has a lot of CGI, and it did not work at all. The story is very mediocre. I didn't care about anything that was happening in the film whatsoever. All I knew was that there were new lead characters with Linda Hamilton, Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's it. That's all I knew about the film, and the story did not help that. The sequences there are many boring sequences in this film, especially the backstory sequences. The backstory sequences are some of those boring backstory sequences that I've ever seen in any film. I was just bored to death with those sequences. It was not needed in a film at all. There are many emotional sequences that unfortunately do not land because of the lack of character development. Like I stated earlier, I did not care about anyone. When characters did die, I did not care. Like, this is a spoiler warning. Dani Ramos, I think her name is, her brother dies in the film, but I did not really care because I'm not given any character development. She wasn't given any character development, so it was hard for me to actually care about either one of those characters throughout the entire runtime of the film. There are also many unnecessary sequences that I didn't think were needed. There are a lot of sequences in the second act that could have easily been cut, and it would have still made this film a little better. There are also many emotional sequences that don't land because of the lack of character development, like I just stated. But another emotional sequence that I thought didn't land was the ending. The ending, which I'll get to later, but the ending is just unbelievably stupid. It's one of the worst endings to a Terminator film that I've ever seen. There are also some predictable sequences, especially the deaths. Like I stated, Dani Ramos' brother dies. It was very, very predictable. It happens in the first act of the film. He just gets shot. That's it. He gets shot and he dies. And that's it. No character development, nothing for me to care about. He just dies in the first act. There is a major continuity problem with this entire film. It is one of the worst continuity problems in the entire franchise. And it's probably the worst continuity problem. The Terminator is now allowed to separate its skin from its metal body and become one Terminator and one human. I've never seen that in any Terminator film. In the Terminator films, if a Terminator takes over your body, you die. That is what happens in a Terminator film. You die if a Terminator takes over your body. This, they didn't explain how it happens, but there are two versions of one of the characters. I forget who, I think it was Gabriel Luna's character, which there are two of them. And that's not supposed to happen because once a Terminator takes control of your body, that means you are dead. It is stated in T2, and it was just terrible. I did not like that at all. He definitely did not watch T2. Obviously, he did not watch T2. And the other thing is if it killed the human, then how is the human part able to fight? The human part in this film fights even though it's dead. That doesn't make any sense. The third act of the film, it was also very mediocre. I did not like it at all. It was bland. It was boring. It was easily one of the worst third acts of any Terminator film. And there's another Terminator death. Of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to die again. It loses its emotional weight because the only Terminator death that I cared about in this entire franchise was T2 Judgment Day. Every single time I watch it, it still gets me emotional because it's very, very well done. James Cameron knew exactly what he was doing with that ending sequence with the Terminator. This film tries to do that, and it fails on every single level. That's about it. Terminator Dark Fate for me is just slightly better than T3. I don't recommend it at all, and I'm going to give Terminator Dark Fate a D+. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the post notification bell so you know if you're a free video. I'm Peter. Thank you for watching.